Okay, this is part 3 of our tutorial, and let's continue with the chair by making this part here. So for that, you can see it's a very simple thing that I think is separate from the rest of the chair. So I'll just go to this view here, add, let me add a plane. I'll also align it to my reference image like that, and go to wireframe and start extruding these vertices around. Maybe push this down a bit, maybe scale it as well, as it seems to widen as we go forward, as we extrude it forward. So I think this is too far, so I think around there. I'm going to use the spin modifier to spin these vertices around to create this curve here. And the way that works, it works based on in your 3D cursor. So I'll move my 3D cursor here. So shift, left click, or right click, and then we do something like that. Now just to edit this, I'm just going to push this down a bit like that. Something like that. And I think that looks good. So let's look at how this looks. Okay, it's a bit too fast, so I'm just going to select this vertex, push that, and push this back, something like that. Then maybe add a loop here, remove these vertices, and add a mirror modifier for that side. Now this is slanting. I think it should be slanting a bit, like we see here. So for that, I'm just going to use this shear tool to do that, something like that. And I'm also going to round off the back side. But before I do that, I think I should first select these edge loops, extrude them along the Y, like that. And maybe use the spin modifier again for this back side, and have those connected. I'll reduce the number of connections here. Then I can connect these like using F. Yeah, so we have something like that. Now I can select this entire edge loop using Alt clicking that, and hit F to turn them into a face. Okay, it seems that these edges are not aligned, so I'll first straighten them up and then use the shear tool to shear them like that, and then Control B to bevel this edge. I think I have two overlapping vertices here, so I'll just Control X to remove that. I think I have more than a few, so let me see. Okay, I'm not sure why we have that, so let me just merge by distance. Then if I select this face, I can Control B to bevel this, something like that. Yeah. Now you can see we have an extra extrusion here, so I think I can select this face again, push it out a bit using Alt S, and then select this edge, use Alt S to push it in, and add a loop here, Control R, Alt S to push it out, I'm trying to create that same there, so maybe use Alt S to push it back a bit. Something like that. And now we can create this here. Again, I don't have a side view of this chair, so I'm just going to eyeball it. So let's just look at how it looks, how it might be. I'm just going to add a plane, rotate it 90 degrees, and I'll delete all the vertices except one, and just extrude the shape. So I think it looks something like this, then curves a bit, not that much. Just something like that. It's a bit rough here, but if you add a subdivision surface, I'm using the shortcut Ctrl 2 to do that. You can see it looks much better. I think this goes on a little bit further, like that. Yeah, I think something like that. And you can see it's also, let me just rotate it 90 degrees. Scale it to fit the size. I think I might also want to push this forward a bit. And just have to align these to match this shape. So I think these vertices, I need to push some of these vertices down. So something like that. These will be pushed back just a bit. I think something like that. But it's also slanting on this side, so I can select these top vertices and push them, make them slant just a bit, and also push them out just a bit like that. So now we can fill them. Let's try grid fill again and see how that would look. So F3 grid fill. Okay, not too bad. So I think I can add a few edge loops. Let me first turn off these subdivisions and now what, before we add those edge loops, let me first turn on. I can insert this, push it out a bit using Alt S, something like that. Then now all I'm left with is to kind of slide these edges until I have a better smooth edge flow. I think this can be connected to this, because I don't like how this is slanting too much, how it's starting to slant. I think I can also cut an edge loop here so that this is straight and this is connected to that. And now I can remove this extra loop, have this connected directly to that, remove that, and maybe add an edge loop here so I can make a cut around there, and I remove these extra loops. Maybe even slide these just a bit, and I think we can have these connected to this and do something. And maybe add a loop here, join that. Again, we're going for a much smoother edge flow. So I can remove that. Maybe then I can select. Yes, let me first isolate this here so that I can easily see what's going on. Select these vertices, push them up like that. So I want this edge loop to kind of go around the entire thing here. So I think I can bevel this vertex so that we have two, like that. Remove this so that now this edge loop goes around here, and to make it continue all the way, need to bevel this as well. Then remove this. So now it goes. Then again, if I wanted to continue this side, I would bevel that vertex. It would go there. And then now for this area here, again I need to bevel this vertex, remove this extra edge, have this connected to that, and then remove this loop. Now we have that connected like that. So if I look at this here, I think I can select these, push them out using Alt S, maybe push these out as well. So push this and have something like that. Let me try aligning them with the chair. So I can select this, turn on proportional editing, and start moving these around. So we have something like so. And then select this outer loop, extrude this out, or better yet, we can just use the solidify modifier, extrude this out like that. You know what, I'm just going to extrude this manually. So I'll just select everything, hit extrude, and you can see this is being pushed in like this side. So what I'm going to do is mirror this on the x-axis. Actually, that might not work. Try Control M, X, Z, Y. No, it's not working as I expected it to. So I'm just going to select these edge loops, push them out, select this, push it out, maybe select this and push it in a bit, select this, think I can select this, connect that to that so that I can remove that. Again, you can see how we don't have a smooth flow here, so I'm just going to select some of these vertices, push them out or slide them until we get something much smoother. But if we added a subdivision surface, you can see it looks far better. And to add this here, this cut here, I can add a loop around there, and then another loop, a spotting loop around here, and maybe, so this would just be around here. So if I do this, let me see, actually it might be around here, but that will also add a few extra edge loops that we don't need, but that's okay. So I think I can have this come from here, then slide to around here. But to make it more smooth, I'll just subdivide this a few times, maybe 3 times. Start pushing or sliding these vertices around. Something like that. And now we can just add a loop around here. You can even use this to push it out to create that kind of smooth curvature there. And I can join this to that to reduce on the anygon we have here. Join that like that. And I have this connect directly to maybe this here. And I can now select that edge loop and this edge loop. Really, I'm not sure where this ends. I think it would end around here, so I'm just going to do the same here. So select that up to here. You can see the shortcuts I'm using here, control and then clicking another edge loop. Now I can insert this, and now I can also then push this out using Alt S just a bit, and use Ctrl R to add a loop here, and Alt S to push that in just a bit like that. And if I add a subdivision surface, you can see what we get. We get that line there. We get that seam. Which might not actually be how it's supposed to be. So let me first undo this for a second, because I think this is just sewed directly on top of it, and maybe a separate cloth on top of this. So let me just do that maybe as well. So I can duplicate this, Alt S to push it out just a bit, hit P to separate by loose object, by selection, and I can start pushing these vertices around. And select. So this would just go on top of this directly, and maybe give it a seam by inserting this to around there, and adding a loop somewhere there. Ctrl B to bevel that loop, and use your middle mouse wheel to add an extra edge loop like that. Then deselect using Ctrl minus to only select the inside loop, and push that in using Alt S. If we turn on subdivisions and also turn on subdivisions for this, you can see what we have. You get something like that. But I think I pushed in that seam too fast, so I can push it out just a bit, so that it's not intersecting with this other cloth. And I also have too many loops here, so I don't need that. I can also select this, push it out like that. And for this here, I think, let me first remove that. I think this here needs to be a seam, and maybe also slide it in just a bit around there. Control B to bevel that. Make sure you have 3 loops, and then Control minus to only select the inside loop, and then Alt S to push that in to give it that inside seam. We have some intersecting going on here, so I'm just going to select, or maybe add a loop here, and that should fix that. I'm also just going to push that outside just a bit, or just go to side view and push it out like that. I think that looks better. I'm also seeing some weird stretching here. That's because of these extra loops we added, but we no longer need, because we have decided to use to approach this differently. So I'm just going to select these and remove those edge loops that are causing issues. I'm also seeing a sharp edge here. I think I can remove that, and we don't have that issue anymore. Alt H, or let me bring back this side, and I think I need to push some of these vertices out just a bit. So do that. Think that looks great. I'm going to add a mirror modifier and apply the rotation of this, and make sure I use this as the mirror object, so that this is exactly the opposite, and do the same for this other object. So Ctrl M, mirror, apply rotation, and then mirror this, use this as the mirror object. Let me save this as a backup. Yeah, so in the next part we'll start adding seams for these other parts.